Okay, did you get a chance to try the hands-on what we tried yesterday, and also what we discussed?
Yes, I tried, but something very weird happened. Maybe I'll show you what went wrong.
Sure. So what did you try?
I
Did you try the automatic one or the fully manual one?
fully manual only. I was not successful, but I tried something. So I want to share.
Fully manual one, yeah, I mean, I knew that will not so happen that easily because there are a couple of things which I deliberately did not add to the slide where I wanted to explore looking at the other ones.
Yeah.
But oh, never mind, that's not that.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, yes. Let me see. Yeah. You have the presenter rights now. You can share.
Okay. So for quotation, right? So I added. Okay, we will start with first. First, I created this component. Then went and added the model as BT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then created views by right click, create view and empty view for search, and for result I created a table view with the right click, create view. Okay. Um, and then I created custom controller, again the same, create, added two nodes into this. I don't know if I did right or wrong, but I tried adding one for search, one is for the result. Similarly, for the view of the search, I created a node. Similarly, the search and the result. And उसके बाद result में I created one node with just the results. Then in the runtime repository, I created view set, added those views. In this view set, I added in the window and defaulted it. Okay. Mm, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me, Rajan? I can't hear you at all. Hmm. Hello? Maybe I'll exit and join. Oh. Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Sorry, I just lost it for a while. Yeah, okay, so you added the bowl model there, and then you created a view set as well. Okay,
So I created two views, and
okay.
when I did right click, it gave me an option, an empty view or a table view. So for
Mm-hmm.
search, I gave an empty view. For result, a table view. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then created view set, and then added that view set into the window and defaulted it. It's the default view. But
Mm-hmm.
then I started searching is like, where is my config button? That is not there. The tab is not there at all.
Exactly. It'll not be there. Yeah, it'll not be there. So now, what we discussed last time, yesterday was the mode what we chose to create automatic search view. basically search application. It automatically created, and if you remember, as I said, the classes what it uses is different. That's one thing,
Yeah.
right? Remember, we were looking at the parent classes, and I was telling you that the classes what it uses is different, right? And also, there was no HTML page in the view layout, if you remember. So
Sorry.
as there was no HTML page in those views,
Mm-hmm.
if you remember that, right? It was solely relying on that XML of
Yeah.
XML, right? No, there was no HTML because the classes which were used here were different. Now, if you see here you have got a HTML page as well. Now, what does that mean to us? It means there are some things which we need to do additionally as well. Now, okay, now how do we know what we have to do? Let's look at maybe, for example, why don't you open the existing quotation or existing and any of the existing search ones, maybe existing quotation table or existing business partner, anything.
You want me to open a web page?
Yep. Now, also open additionally another component, BSPWD component, one more selection. It's slightly challenging to work on the remote sessions at times. But if you do it in your local SAP GUI, it will be much faster.
Right.
Yeah. So open the component workbench. Yeah, it's here in the payments, right? Okay. Just see from the history, maybe there might be something. Not a Z1, not the Z1s. Okay. So let's look at no. Just go back. Just go back. Might be there in the history itself because yesterday we were seeing that. Okay. Let's see that SLSQ BT triple double 15 SLSQ
Yeah.
above the, yeah, this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Displayed view views. Okay. SLSQ, the first view. Yeah, first view. Okay. So do you see there's a config tab here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This also got HTML. So let's look at the HTML here. HTML, not the page attributes. Yeah, HTML. Yeah, fine. Okay. Now you look at your HTML.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite good.
Okay. This is okay. So one thing. Okay. Now let's look at the implementation classes. Look at your view implementation class. What is the parent here?
Should I go like in my object? You mean?
Yeah, in both the objects.
What is this search to? Okay.
So basically, for searches, there is so when we create a view, it by default adds the generic uh, parent classes. Go to the properties. Yeah, look at the parent class. Okay, okay, just stay here now. You can see your parent class is BSPWD view controller. Okay, which is nothing but the normal view controller class. Now look at the same thing in the another one, the standard one. Okay. Um,
Yes.
Advanced search controller. Okay, just go inside and see the parent of this as well. Okay. So as you can see, what is this is advanced search controller class is a generic advanced search controller class for the sales scenario. Okay. But then it has got on one more parent, that is BSUWD advanced search controller. Double click on this. So this is a special controller class for the dynamic search views. Okay. So when we created a view, the class which got created was the normal weapon pro controller class. But for the search purpose, what we need is advanced search controller class. So first thing what you do is, okay, go to your view, go to your view. Okay, okay, edit the view. By default, when the no, here itself. I mean, sorry,
Class.
the view class. Yeah, yeah, okay, parent. Yeah, super class. Yeah, here, edit. So by default, when it creates the classes, the description is not there. So since description is mandatory for every class, just give some description. You can even give the name or whatever description you want to give, and just save it. And then and now save it. Now go to the other one, copy the class name and
From the
change the inherit.
standard.
Yeah, yes, from the standard. Yeah, so the class name should be WD Advanced Controller. That one.
Yeah, the same.
The one which you have opened. Yeah. So ELBSPWD Advanced Search Controller. Copy. Hmm. Save it. Check and save. Yes, we want to keep the redefinitions. Please remember, since eventually all of them have the same parent, uh, even this class will eventually have the same parent class. So many of the methods are implemented already when you create it, because your context node definition and all will be there. So we will always choose the option that keep the redefinitions. Okay,
Hmm.
we are not overwriting the redefinitions. Activated. Go back. Okay, so now this is one thing. Other thing is, look at the context node now. Look at the context class.
SPWD context.
Yeah, so context class is PHP context, right? Now compare there. Context class typically should be same, because the context handling is a generic context handling.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Now go back. Now, which is our search node? Open the node which called the search parameters, because we want that nodes. No, it's the same in the same view. You got two nodes, right? One node which has the search parameters, which is bound to the search pole object. So in this case, it will be uh, BTQ SLS code, the
Right.
last one. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So open the class of this. Okay. Okay. See the superclass. This is still the specific one. See the superclass. Okay. This is the superclass, right?
Hmm.
Um, Check the same thing in your context node.
It's all okay. Simple.
Okay. It's a simple context node, but
Yeah.
okay. Now go to the other one. Double click on that class and see the description of the class. So what is this class? It's a generic query context node for the one order objects. Okay, but still, it has got one more parent class, that's your context node ASP. Now double click on that. Now what is this class? This is the special context node for the complex search parameter table. And then further, it has got the parent class as the context node class. Okay. Okay. So now we could use either of them. For the sake of simplicity or for the sake of generic thing, let's use this node ASP class. You could even though use a generic one order one, but that's then it becomes very specific for the one order handling. But if you use ASP, it means for any kind of search object, you would be using this. Again, description is missing, so you need to maintain the description. Without that, it will not allow you. Okay, now save, activate. Go back.
So now since I created a simple view, now we are making, by changing this class, we are trying to make it more specific to the search result view, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, fine. So far so good. The other thing what we saw was a difference in the HTML page. Now go to the HTML page of yours, another HTML page.
Of my search, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now look at the other one. Okay. No. Okay. So this is pretty straightforward, right? So copy this. Okay. Okay. So so before we paste it, just have a look at it. What is this thing? So this is the BSP tag annotations. Okay. So are you aware of any of the server pages scripting, or at least read ever the BSP or GSP or anything?
Yeah, JavaScript I have used little.
How about the GSP?
No.
Never mind. Okay. So something which we are going to use here in the BSP, you use the usage tag which you see at the top in the orange color, right? So that's where we specify that this page is in the language ABAP, and the extension what we are going to use here, the extension classes, is the THTMLB classes, and for this the prefix what we are going to use below is the THTMLB itself. We could mention any prefix of our choice, just people just use it as a, so if you use anything otherwise. Then using that prefix, we further use the advanced search tag, and advanced search tag has got a couple of properties. We are setting up properties which are relevant here for us. One is the ID. ID is immaterial, it could be any ID. Okay. Then the field metadata. So one thing is we could now there are two things. One is if we wanted to have hard-coded fields, we could just go and create BSP field tags and bind individual field tags to whatever data context set which we wanted. But in case we wish to have something configurable, which we can just configure in the view. In that case, we would like to use this kind of tags. So in that case, the tag need to know from where to read the field metadata. So field metadata is already available in the framework method get dQuery definition. So since this is a dynamic query, so from the dQuery definition, it can get the metadata. And this is a standard method unless we override it. It's available in the controller, okay, in the view controller. So when we use the double quotes, you can just put the value, whatever value we want to specify. It could be hard coded English text, whatever. But in case we wish to supply the value of a variable, or basically a calculated value of something, in that case, within the double quotes, we use further a tag, and that tag is tag. ampersand is equal to, as you can see here. Okay, it means it should use the value of whatever is further, and then the value of controller, and then invocation of the method get query definition, then percentage, and then the tag close. So whatever the method is returning, it's going to use that here. Same goes for header, that how should it get the structure name, okay, parameter structure name, then there is a method here. But this is really not necessary. Even if we do not have that, it's fine. Then comes the field name. Okay. Structure name, because structure name is something which you can hard code as well. It can come from the framework method still. And the field names. Field name, again, since the framework already knows from the previous bool object, it has a method to provide possible field names. So we are just going to use the framework's automatic method to get possible fields. Then the values and the maximum hit. So when we are giving the values, whichever is your query context node, okay, we are going to use that context node here, which is slash slash. Then say, assuming if the query context node name is just query, so you will say slash slash query slash parameters. Parameters is something standard and hidden from us typically. Then max hits, same thing like an SAP query. The max hit parameter is there, how many maximum records it should hit. So there again, we'll say slash slash the query context node name slash max hits. And then what should happen when the user hits, when the search gets hit? Some event should trigger, right? And that event is your search event. It could be any event name for that matter. Whatever is the event name, we are going to specify that event name here. So typically, if it's a search, the event name is generally search itself, but it's not hard and fast. We could give any name of our choice. Okay. Then this is the last one is not really relevant for us, but we just use it as is. It's Ajax space delta handling. So since the framework at the runtime might be using Ajax, so we just saying true or false. So we just use as space false. Okay. Now, since you copied it, go ahead and paste the same thing in your view.
But no, I didn't understand is why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this? Yeah, because
Sorry. Yeah.
no worries. So we are still doing it to get the configurable view.
Oh.
Okay.
And
so
this all inputs triggers the configuration tab.
Yes, because see, classes we changed, because even if we just change this, the framework will not be able to handle those until we have those classes as a parent classes. Okay. And then the tag is something that visually the framework will give you that configuration tag. So tag are typically for the visual elements. Right? So this scripting tag will give you the visual elements in the tag of configure in the configuration tab. So configuration tab will eventually invoke this page internally, and then from this page it will determine that what to show you, and then it will say, okay, I want to show to the end user, to the developer, advanced source provisions, and for the advanced source provisions, how do I get the fields? It will get the fields from the get query definition, the field names, the values, and all that stuff. It will get basically from there. So we are doing it for the purpose of having that configuration.
So since this code is not there, it means our config is like an empty page, which is no point of displaying. But once this is added, then
yes,
all stuff comes up.
Yeah. So now you just copy paste the same thing there. Okay, and just change the context node name. Whatever is your context node name, use that name and the values in the max hits. The query context node name, whatever is that.
Can I just save this before I go? Find out
Yeah, yeah. Wait, display errors. No, is this a class which you just said? No, you already activated, right? Don't activate anything else. Go back. Just activate that one. Since you already activated the relevant classes, just activate this one.
Okay. So now I go back, find out what's my context node is, which is
Yes, so BTQ SLS quote is what you have used. Okay. BTQ SLS quote. Now we use the same name there.
Is there a way to copy? No.
You can do control. You can do Control C, Control V, but it will copy the full thing.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same.
Wait.
I think it's the same only whatever you use.
Okay.
That's fine. No need to change that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. So just come back. No. Okay.
Just this.
Okay. Yeah. This one. Go back and double click on the view. Do you see the tab now? If not yet, exit the workbench and then come in again. Exit the workbench completely. Relaunch the T code. Sometimes there's a buffering issue. So in case it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Pairing? Okay, so good.
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
I
So
was
now
like, I was thinking, what did I do? Let would I be a configuration group?
Yeah, that is why I was emphasizing that I want you to refer the existing ones. Okay, just wanted you to spend some time exploration. So, okay, so now go ahead and configure that.
Okay, yeah. So this is my search.
Okay, so you can add a couple of fields like ID, description, or
well, didn't I think of adding quotation? But this is all BP, right?
well, no, just come now. Quotation ID is there.
Okay.
This particular issue we were thinking the issue is happening just because the server is on Windows 10, and with the Windows 10 there might be some nodes missing. Otherwise, this drag and drop is, and especially in the remote session, right? So the remote session is making this thing is a bit tricky. If you try the very same thing, drag and drop in your local one.
Can I type? Otherwise,
No, you cannot type. Just click on the row once. Click on this row quote ID. Yeah. Now drag it.
yeah.
Yeah, it is going right. Yeah, this is
It's working.
Yeah. Okay. So quote ID. Okay. So description. By the way, the fields are actually sorted by the technical names. Okay. So they are not sorted by description. They are always sorted by the technical name, and that is where you see the receptions going here by end.
ठीक है ये काफी है इसको देखने के लिए yeah.
Okay, so save it. Okay, good. Now, okay, we already said that when the search happens, we want to have the search triggered, the search event. Okay, but we did not create any button yet for the search.
Right.
Okay, okay. Now let's go back to the view structure. Go to the HTML. Okay, now here add an HTML tag. Edit. And whatever HTML tag is there, instead of advanced search, yeah, copy this. Instead of advanced search, just say button. It doesn't matter where you place it. Button. and then space ID is equal to some ID in double quotes, search or BTN search or whatever. Okay, then on click, similar to ID, enter on a small on C capital, yeah, on click is equal to, and then your event name. So search small, all small, okay, then text, proper, yeah, attribute text is equal to, and then search. That's basically your label of the field. Okay, and now close the tag, forward slash, yeah, forward slash, close the tag, activate. Okay, now at this point, assuming that you have created everything else, okay, and now we come to the result list. Okay,
but इसका method event बना दिया, but where is the logic to?
we'll do that. We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do that. Okay, now now we need to talk about the result list. Let's look at the result HTML. It's SLS code SR. Yeah, this one. Okay, so use is using the search iterator, okay, the iterator tab. On the contrary, what is getting used there is a table extension, right? So we also need to use this table extension.
But I see there also table extension, right? No. Oh, iterator.
It is cell iterator. Okay, now go back. Okay, so just stay here for a while in the existing one, in the new one. Oh, sorry, in the standard one. Go to the standard one, please. Okay, so let's see. The very first thing which needs to happen here is now for this particular component, it needs to get the configuration data. Okay? So first thing, as you can see here in the top, is what is it trying to do? It is trying to get the configuration data. Via making the call to get config data from the configuration descriptor, and this is the XML. So it fetches that XML into a string variable, and then after that, in the next tag, it is just doing some calculation to show if the collapse is false or true, and then line number. But at this moment, this is not significant. For the sake of simplicity, we look at the next one. That's your table extension tag. In your table extension tag, we just give some table ID, which is again some ID, which is a material for us, and the layout is fixed. And then the configuration table tag starts. Here in the configuration table tag, the XML is supplied from whatever was fetched earlier, right? Okay. Okay. So okay. Excuse me. So XML is supplied from whatever was fetched earlier. There is some ID given here. Could you just scroll down? Okay. So navigation page is in by page. Fine. So on row selection, the select event should trigger actions. There are some actions like actions should come from the GT buttons buffer. Yeah. Then maximum actions in row. It means how many maximum actions should happen in a row. Okay, that's 5 here specified. Then table. The table is basically the context node which actually holds the data. So that's your / context node name / table. So table is something which is standard. You just need to make sure that your context node name is correct. Okay, and in your case, since your context node is also same, so you don't have to change that. Width is 100%, so it's going to occupy the 100% of the width area here. Then the header visible is false, and these are pretty much standard. Header visible is false, width is 100%. Lead selection is true. If you don't want a lead selection, it will be false. But typically, we will want a selection, so it will be true. Okay. Then visible row count. Visible row count. Now this guy is calculating from the top using that if else condition. If you wish, you can just hard code it to 10 as well. Here. Now, then the selection row. Selection mode. Selection mode. It's fetching. What is the selection mode? So this is a selection mode which comes from our coding. So as we said, we could have single selection, multiple selection, no selection. It comes from that selection mode value. We could either hard code it here, or we could use this variable and alter this variable in our coding. Okay, so we
this
could just use
variable
it here.
means
The selection mode.
right, anything, right? It is using all the variables here, and this is what this is our. It's not a class. It's a result set, right?
Yeah, this is a result set.
Result set like variable.
Yeah, the result set handler. This will be result set handler, right? This will be your result set node, the context node of the result set. So it will be handled to that. So it's pulling all that stuff from there. Okay, and then eventually, if we scroll down, so okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things which are the fields which are important here, which are at least mandatory here is your XML, because it needs to determine what to show when you go to get into the configuration tab, right? That comes from the XML. So it needs XML, it needs an ID, navigation mode, on row selection, table, the width, header visible has the selection, visible row count, action maximum in row, and the selection mode. Okay. Other things which are more of like show no match text, high rows. This is even if you skip that, doesn't matter. Okay. Then your what else is here? Yeah. So selected row index are things are there. Typically, we will not be using in the code, but if you are using it, then it makes a difference. Okay, that which is a selected row index in the table and all that thing. Okay, so now just uh, copy this whole stuff and paste it there, and then we will adjust that. Because as you can see, this is here, it has just used a normal BSP cell iterator for the table, but we don't want that. We want something which is configurable for the search result set. Okay, so here we are. Go above. Okay. Okay, so since as you can see here, the second segment, it is using this BTQ, its own class, which is specific to BT115QS, and it's figuring out from there. So just clear this whole segment. The full parts, the full second segment, the whole opening and closing business.
Including
No, the full thing, because LV collapse is also calculated, right? It's further calculating the lines. So remove it. And now since the variable LV lines is also gone, in your bottom tag, instead of LV lines, just hard code and give it some number. Within double quotes, it's a number set 10, for example, which is typically the standard. Okay, now do a check. I would suggest keep it the visible count as 10. It will be too much. Okay. So actions also for now you can remove. You can just comment it. Just use a normal back commenting tag. That's your control and the back arrow. It will comment. Okay, never mind. Doesn't matter. Yep. So it will comment that. Done. Okay, so as you can see, this is the HTML comment tags which got added here. So you may not wish to remove it, but since you want to revisit it later, so just activate here. Okay, now let's also have a look for our understanding at the parent classes of this view and also the standard view. As we compare the parent classes of the search view, let's compare the parent classes of the result view as well.
Okay.
Okay, before that, let's get into the view controller class. Look at the parent class. It'll yeah, one
Same.
more up. Okay. Now go there in the standard one and see that. Okay. And these are the things, by the way, you would be needing only initially once you're creating it. Right? The more and more you create it, by the time you would already know this by heart, or you might have already noted it down somewhere in your references. Okay. So it is pretty much the same, right?
Same. Yeah.
So it's just using the view controller. Let's go back and do the same thing for view controller, sorry, the
No.
contest node as well, which contains a result set. So as you will see that even there it is the same thing. But just to double sure, let's have a look and see. Okay, so they have again one more up.
WD
Okay,
context.
yeah. So this is something for the one order and quotation. Just go. Okay, no, just level click on this TV. Yeah. Okay. So this is again the table view. Now copy this, go there and see if it is there. If it's not there, then we will use it.
It's there.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So far so good.
Yes.
It means so here is pretty much the standard one, same thing. Now go to the configuration. Configure the view. Add some fields.
Did I lose quotation? Oh.
Well, you may use the fields like description.
Yeah.
Description is there. You can use the description, object ID. Well,
Key.
it might be transaction ID. Just do one thing, please. Scroll above and say show technical details. Okay. Okay. Now let's see. Just scroll down. Yeah. So yeah, scroll down. You can even so let's drag the net value as well. Net value, object ID. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, as you can see here, you have an option of hiding that field as well. Just as I said, because maybe some note is missing, you are not able to modify for something which you have already added. Uh, we have to come back again. Otherwise, normally whichever row you have selected, you should be able to change that. Object ID is not got selected. Yeah, drag object ID and maybe drop it to the first place.
What did I add? Is
That is a net value.
okay. Oh, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe created by as well. So created by is
Just,
also there at the top. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, then so far so good.
Yes.
Save. Save. Okay. Okay. Test a component. It's coming.
Yeah, good
Right?
start.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So it's showing the same thing what you added. Two search parameter, one search button, and four results. We did not code yet.
Yes, correct.
Okay, go back. Go back to the search view. Restore events, event handlers. So there is no event which we created. This is all standard HTML events which are coming here. Okay, just say right click and the event handler, say right click and create a new event, create, and give the event search all small, since we use the all small in the HTML tags as well. Okay, okay, okay. Go inside, please. Okay, now write the code. So what should we do? Yeah, you can copy from there.
In our standard class.
Yeah, you can very much copy from there. Essentially, you just need a couple of lines. One is take a data reference of the CRM bold query service. Then take a reference of the bold bio collection events. Even so, look, yeah.
Search.
What's
Yeah.
first one? Yeah, this one. Right, event handlers. Okay, so on search.
भगवान इतना है.
Okay, so here there is a lot of dynamicism done for the labeling. Okay, to adjust that labeling thing here. Since we do not wish to look at that part right now, what you need to copy is yes. So copy the initially the variables
Yeah.
from the
By
top.
default, I'll
From the
copy.
top, just take two variables, the query service and the result one. That's all.
Okay.
Copy paste this thing there. Okay, now go back. Okay, so query service, yeah, this invocation, and then if the query is bound, then go ahead and trigger the get query result. So you will say LR result is equal to, okay, just
this one.
Yep, this one, line number 33. Yes. Okay, so what we did is just now we just pull the data from the query, but we still need to set this query into the collection into the collection of the contest node. So you'll say me. Okay. So let's type that. Yeah. So me, and then type context. Typed.
And then
you're not getting type context. So typed control space. It's coming right. Yeah. Okay. And then further reference arrow. There should be no space. Okay, and then whichever is your result set node, that's yeah, just do control space. Control space, it will come. It will show you anyways too. So yeah, the result one.
Yeah.
The result one, yes. Okay, and then call the method set collection. No spaces. There are no spaces for invocation. Yeah, set collection method. Set underscore collection. Yeah. Okay. Bracket open. Space LR, pass the LR result. and then bracket close. Okay, so what we just did is we said because the result, and this result we are going to supply to the context node, the result set context nodes as a, into the collection of it. Okay, so activate this class. Sorry, activate this method. Okay, so our coding for the search is done. Okay, now I'm not sure. Did you already map this to your custom controller, the
What?
nodes?
Yeah, that I want. What I
Are you yet
tried
to do
is
that?
now what I tried doing is like in the PDF you've given me logic to write binding, right? Like,
No, this way said that this will be automatically there. Once you do this, it will automatically create it.
but what I did is in the result
Okay, so for
I did
now,
binding.
yes, yes. So this is fine. So okay, just
Where
yeah. Then it's okay. It's showing up. So you can see it's showing you at the bottom in the middle. It is bound to the component custom controller Z code CUCO context node is this context node. So this is already bound. Okay, fine. So this is this is fine. It means whatever is there in this custom controller context node, this guy should be able to get that data. Okay,
right.
so so far so good here. We also need to do is bind the other ways that we would say that whatever is the data in the well, um, whatever is the data in the query result set, that same data should also go to the context node of the component controller. So in the context, yeah, this one again, yeah. This also you have a point. Yeah, this also you have
Yeah.
a point. This is fine. Okay, fine. So let's test it. Let's see.
Oh, okay.
Search it.
Hmm.
Voila. So you have the results.
Yes.
Okay, great. So now give some quotation ID here. So as you can, yeah, just give some ID here and search. Okay, and now so there could be multiple different transaction types within a quotation as well. That's why it's showing you all of those of the sub transaction types in the data. But if desired, the before triggering the query, the further parameter can be added, values can be added in the same place where in the search criteria itself. You could go ahead and before calling the get query results, you could go and add more search parameters, whichever you wish to filter on further as a hidden ones, and then the query can be triggered. So yeah, so you now successfully created a search component which has its own search pane and also its own result set, and it's got its own search button event, and it's showing you the data. Okay, so you got also an hidden field as well, right?
Yeah.
Great. So congratulations on that.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay, so you saw this was the traditional approach, what to have to be done for creating this view. And what you tried yesterday was also an automatic way, rather a much more simpler way, which I think CRM 7 ESP1 or something, some ESP onwards it provides, where we automatically has a provision to create a search page and no need to do any of these coding, right? As we saw there yesterday, it automatically did everything for us. Only thing what we had to do was go ahead, enhance the methods whichever we wanted to, and overwrite and write our coding wherever it makes sense, wherever it's applicable. Okay, right? Okay, so this was great. Okay, so now,
But this doing helped me a lot rather than like yesterday it was easier. But this one made as soon as I came from office, I sat for 3 hours to do this stuff because I was trying to figure out where should I start with, right? Yeah, but
yeah,
it was
yeah,
fun.
I understand that. Okay, okay. So we created an advanced search web component. Okay, so now what we also wish to do is, excuse me. What we also wish to do is gradually add a navigation link here, take us to the what do you call the take us to the navigation of the overview, okay, and then also maybe integrate this one into the CRM web UI, right? Okay, so let's see that how do we add navigation now. Say which field you want to add navigation on.
It's a quotation ID.
The ID, okay. So go to your search view, open the context node, the result set of context node. Yeah, sorry, not in the search, in the result, because we want to add hyperlink in the result. So go here, expand this field, okay. So object ID, okay. So we got the object ID here. Right click. Okay, so it says generate getter and setter methods. So what we need to do is we need to generate the methods, of course. So say generate getter setter methods. So as we said that there is a properties method that's your get p. Did it generate?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, object ID.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
expand it. Okay, so it generated a couple of them. We need to actually get, so by default it's generating only these. So do a right click and say generate get p as well. Get generate get p. P is in properties. Okay. So as we said, V is for value help. Okay. If we wish to provide a filter, if we wish to ever filter the custom value help or create our own value help here by coding, we will use the V. But right now we want to alter the properties. So get inside this method. Okay. Now you see you're getting a case statement and a property. So what we need to change here is we need to tell the framework, okay, what is a field type? So field type, this field type has to be a link, okay? So line number 5, uncomment the line number 5. And from this descriptor, instead of using the field type input, use the field underscore type underscore event underscore link. Okay, so if you do a control space, this should show you the same thing. So we are telling that one property is, no, just hold on. We need to make a couple of more changes here. So one thing what we are saying is that this field type is going to be when the framework want to know what is the field type property. So framework will call this method with the property field type, and then it will hit your case statement IV property. Eventually this will read this when clause, and then here we are telling that yeah, this one is going to be an event link. But then the framework hit the method again at some point of time and says that what event should get triggered when we are clicking on this. Okay, so we need to add one more when clause. Copy paste the same, copy paste those 2 lines. Yeah, just copy paste the same 2 lines, and instead of in the when clause, instead of field type, use fp underscore on click.
So I'll add another when, right?
Yeah. No, I said copy paste. I mean, that will just make it easier for you. If you want to type in, you can type in. Okay. So instead of field type, use fp underscore on click. So if you just press space after fp underscore, just press a space, control space. You see all these different concepts are coming for you. Okay. So this, yeah, on click. Now we want to say, okay, what should happen? In the on click, we want to return the event name. So give any event name. So for example, selection, right? Or yeah. So RB value is equal to, and then give a string selection or anything, whatever name you want to give. But give it in no, single quotes like an abap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This we don't need, right?
No, this we don't need because this is the event name what we're giving. So just remember you're giving all small. So when we create the event handler, we need to give the same thing. Okay. Okay. And if you wish to even give a tooltip, you can add one more pen clause and say fp underscore tooltip and give any tooltip. I mean, tooltip is not mandatory, of course.
Yeah.
It is just that in case if you wish to give a tooltip, you can give a tooltip as well.
Got it.
Okay. Otherwise, this is good enough. Now, yeah. Okay. So, done.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what we did just now is we added something here. Okay. Now we need to do a navigation. Okay.
On event selection.
Yes. Okay. So what I would like to do is, at this point, okay, we'll not do any further coding. We'll just hold this coding for the next session tomorrow. But we want to discuss this concepts back before we do the coding.
Okay.
Now, since we want to do the navigation here, where we want to navigate, we want to navigate onto the overview page of the quotation, right? Or to any, or to for that matter, any on any page, because we could add even a link on the content ID, content description, anywhere, wherever we are adding this link to. Now, since in our component, we do not have any such view, we just got two views here, result and the search and the search view set, but no other views are there. So what we need to do additionally is we need to go add a component usage. Okay, you follow me? Okay, so we need to go add a component usage and then go do the context node binding as we said in the controller using the wd context initialize context binding, and then from after that we need to also create a navigation link. We need to trigger this navigation eventually leading to that particular component. Okay, to understand that better, uh, could you just switch over to the standard one? Okay, just go back. And could you also open one web UI? Or just go back to the standard one, standard view once, please, and see. Okay, so expand the result view here, result view context nodes, yeah. Okay, look at the attributes. Okay, so they should have also added some links here. If we scroll down and see, there is an object ID. Okay, object ID. There is a get p, and this get p is also implemented, but somewhere in the top class. I will click on this. Double click on this, please. Okay, so this is implemented in this parent class, and in this parent class, they are also doing the same thing. They say, okay, what should happen here? Property field type is the event link, and when the user clicks on it, so they've not given any tooltip. But if you wish, you can return value of tooltip as well. So when it is clicked, the on object ID should get called. Okay. Now let's see, on object ID, where is this? Is it in this class or is it in the actual class? Go back. Okay, so just go to the events, expand the events, bottom, event handlers. Okay, so do we have on object ID here? Okay, it's there, but it's also implemented in the parent class. Fine. So double click on this. Okay, so this is also implemented. So what is it doing here? It's okay. So what we do is, as you can see, there are two parameters here. One is the HTML basic event, and one is your input data. That's your event X, that are coming in the parameters. So from the event X parameter, we can get the index of the current row, which is selected. So in the line number 9, the code is trying to get from the event X, get me the event information, basically get me the index. Okay, of the current row, because it's a table. So we need to know when someone is clicking on object ID, which overview should open, right? So because we need to get the data and supply that. So we get the index this way. Then look at the line number 16. At the line number 16, what we're going to do is, so I'm actually taking you through the standard code instead of giving you any theoretical fundamentals here, because this is actually much more meaningful and handy as well for you to develop your own code. You can just refer and understand what's been done and do your own code instead of just looking at some theoretical concepts and just struggling at the real time. I hope this is fine, right?
Yeah, this is fine. And even rippling standard is more fun.
Okay, so now here, if you see, we says type context, and then again, it's referring to its own search query result set context, and then the collection wrapper, and then there is a method in the collection wrapper called find, which takes this index ID as a parameter and gives the bool entity of that specific one as a return. Okay, so if you see the LR entity, it will be a top type for bool entity. Just go up. Yeah. Just look at the what is the type of, and just go up and see. So this is the bool entity, okay? CLCRM bool entity, as we said. Now, normal web thing, since it's a class object, just check if it's bound, if some entity is retrieved. We don't want the code to crash, right?
Yeah.
So from this entity, so then it has got its own method BT order. Go inside this. Okay, so what is it trying to do is here in the standard code, it's trying to uh, so it's trying to get the data from the underneath relation. So as we saw in the whole hierarchy, that most of these, the search results set are a different objects, right? And the search result set objects typically have relationship with the actual core object. So this particular one, it's trying to do the same thing. From the search result set object, it's trying to get the underlying relationship. That's basically your BTEDTVS LS code, which is the underlying relationship for the quotation. And then from the current entity, that's your result set entity, get related entity, and then they give the relationship name and get the that particular entity back. So this is, if you remember, this is the same thing what we spoke when we discussed about the bool programming, right? And we tried even that custom program code as well. So that's the kind of coding which is done here. Okay.
So
Now
using relationship, we have the quotation ID. Using relationship, we are getting the order number.
Oh, no,
order.
we do not have the quotation ID. What we have is the bool object of the result set instance. So when we did a query, right? So whichever ID the user is clicking on, so forget about the ID. Basically, whichever is the object instance, is a bool instance. ID is nothing but a data value, right? So say the user is clicking on the second row. Now second row holds some data which contains ID, description, transaction type, posting date, blah 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 blah. Now from that particular bool instance, which is a query results at bool instance, we wish to navigate down to the next one, to the actual bool object. Okay, so he's saying, okay, navigate down that relationship, and from that relationship, get me the entity. So this is what it is trying to fetch from there.
But what is archive here? What is the significance? Assign the GB archive the value.
Oh, that's a field symbol. That's just some custom coding done,
Okay.
some variable which is getting populated in a component controller in the OV archive or something. But this is not this is the custom coding done for this specific component, but not significant for basically triggering the event or return the value.
Yeah, yeah, got it.
So yeah, so the standard components are relatively
Yeah.
complex and they sort of a lot of different use cases in a single component. They would have done something here.
Okay.
Otherwise, okay, so now just go back. So we got the relationship data. Now, for this entity, okay, now if you just go down,
So we were here and then
yeah, now just go
okay.
down. Okay, so now standard check if the entity is not bound, raise a message, right? Raise a message, and then otherwise just go down. Okay, now get inside the line font line number 43. Get inside the BT order to CUCO. That's your component controller. Okay. Now just scroll down, please. Okay. What is it trying to do in short? It is trying to set these values in the component controller. It is trying to read the component controller's time code type context and the component controller's BD order context node, and then it is trying to add the data which you fetched in your IRBT order as a parameter. It is trying to set that data in the component controller's collection record in the component controller, because as we said, since we want to then do navigation now when the two components talk to each other, they talk to each other via the mechanism of component controller. They're not right. Okay, now just to understand this better, let's go back, look at the component controller, go back and go back, look at the component controller. Are there any context nodes here? Okay, so we can see the component controller also got all of these context nodes. So what we are interested right now here is the BT order. Basically, that's where it is, which one it is using for the navigation purpose. This is the one which is holding one single result set which is getting selected for the navigation. Okay, okay. This is okay. So it's holding that BT order base entity here. Now okay, could you just scroll down, please? Okay, so WD initialize, usage initialize. This is the method where we said when we are using a component, we are going to do the context node binding if desired, if required. Get inside this, please. Um, okay, so as you can see here, so since for the purpose of the search registration, it needs to do, it is making use of this particular method to bind the context nodes here. Okay, because it's using that particular component inside this component as a used component. Now for the purpose of navigation, it is not making use of this concept. So navigation, as we discussed in our navigation section, that there are a couple of different ways the navigation could be done between two different components here. So so let's see what is this particular model using as a navigation model. Now if you just go back, do you remember what was the event when this thing is getting clicked?
Oh, this was
Yeah.
selection. I don't know here.
Uh, Never mind. Just let's look at the result set again, please. Okay, get inside the event. That's
Okay,
fine.
yeah.
Get inside the event. Yeah, on object ID. Okay, go down. Okay, so excuse me, just scroll down, please. So as you can see here, after setting the data into the component controller, the BT order context node, what is it doing is from the view manager, it's getting the window controller. So whatever is the current window here, in which the view is launched, is getting the controller of the window, and then for that window, it's calling the outbound plug quote overview.
Hmm.
Okay, now just go back, go to window, and see the outbound plug quote overview. Of the quote overview, and then this. Okay, so it just says fire outbound plug quote overview. Okay, and if you double click on this fire outbound plug method and try to get inside, this should typically be the framework method. Okay, so as you can see, this is in the CLBSP WD window of framework method fire outbound plug standard. So what this kind of coding tells us is, now for this kind of mechanism, the usage is done via the OP mapping of the navigation. So that's why I said that let's discuss the concept today instead of doing it today. So here they have used the OP mapping of the OP mapping navigation model. Um, do you have? Let me just quickly check. If you look at the day 5, do you have the day 5 presentation with you? If you check the day 5 presentation, we discussed the navigations here, the different type of navigations, what could happen. Next, go forward. Yeah. Yeah. So we said there are a couple of different things what could happen here. That is navigation from one view to another view within the same component, right? If we are creating an overview page of our own within the same component, we would go ahead and use that navigation link concept which is there within the same component. Okay, but when we are going to use, so as you can see here, view of the same component, what we are going to utilize is the latent navigation link which is configured here. Now if you go next, then navigation between the work area component via the navigation bar, then we are going to use the component repository and the generic OP mapping. Go next. Okay, now the different navigation scenarios what we said. So component, within the component, view to view via navigation link, outer component, inner component via navigation link. Okay, so just to hold on here, it means that when two different components are talking, it could still happen very well via the navigation link if that particular one is actually utilized as the inner component. Okay, now if you want to validate that, what we would do is um, just go to your search view, go to the runtime repository, see the component usages, or see the navigation links if it exists. Runtime repository, and whatever we are talking, okay, and expand the component usages, please. There are no component using. No, no, this is your custom one. Open the standard one, please. So whatever we are talking, this applies to any of the model, irrespective. Runtime repository, please. Okay, runtime repository. Okay, okay. So we see it is already using a couple of them here. Okay, expand the component usage. First one, COB expand space. Okay, so this seems to be the component which is nothing but your um, quotation header component. Okay, okay. Navigation links, normal search. Uh, do you remember what is it? Can you just get into this code? What navigation link was triggered here in the code?
Archive, right? No.
Okay, just expand the normal search. The normal search. Okay, so as you can see here, in the search here, they have an in the main window of search, there has to be an edit button. So looks like when the edit button gets triggered, expand the target, please. No,
This
of
is
the
it.
first one, the first one, the first one. Navigation link, the first one. Yeah. So when the edit event or the edit outbound plug is called, at that point it hits SLS query inbound plug search, and similarly, it could be using any of the other component which is not a part of, oh, sorry, any of the other views which is not a part of this particular component, but is actually getting used as a use component. But here, as we can see, that this mechanism is not getting utilized. Okay. So, so if you want to look at any of the standard components, see, okay, how are they including, not even navigating, how are they including any of the components within the complex view or the view set? Then you can actually look here and see, are there any navigation links maintained here? What are the component usages maintained here? And stuff like that. Okay. Now let's go back to the to our day 5 presentation. Okay, now so since this one is not reusing that particular component, it means it's not using any of these four models. Okay, now go next page. So excuse me. So here uh, in the first one and the second one, these are typically used when we are going to create our navigation links on the CRM web UI, and these can also be utilized when we are going to delegate or when we are going to do a navigation between two different components altogether. And that navigation, as we said, if we are not using as a use component, then that navigation can also be done via the mechanism of the number 5. Okay. And this is something now what we will try to do tomorrow session is we will try to understand how standard is doing this configuration, how to do this configuration, and we'll also do the same kind of configuration for our view as well, so that we eventually land up in the standard quotation view. Okay. And then once this navigation is done, we will also incorporate the search view what we have created as a as a used component, or basically as a component within the CRM web UI under the specific role what we have created, what we are using. Okay, so that's an exercise what we are going to do in our tomorrow's session. So because looking at the length of that exercise, we don't want to break it up. Rather, we want to do it in one shot together. So we will have it both the things together done in the tomorrow's session.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, any questions which you have at this point of any hands-on what we did today?
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So, okay, so let's meet tomorrow, and tomorrow we will do this open navigation, and then we will also try to incorporate our view which you created here into this role that we have, which we are using. And by the way, whatever role we are using, we can use it in any of that. But for our purpose, we would use the role which we are currently using for our testing, so that we know where to see that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'll see you tomorrow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.